Hola, ¿qué tal amigos? Buenos días, buenas tardes y buenas noches. No importa la hora que sea, siempre es un gran momento para aprender español con Profesor Pablo. La lección de hoy es the present tense, verb number 3. We're taking a scheduled maintenance stop, a pit stop, if you will. We're pulling the car into the garage and let the mechanic take a look at the engine and see if it's functioning properly. There's a lot going on in the present tense, and it's all on the board here. This is the whole enchilada, as we say. Now, the present tense is critical. It is the biggest foundational piece for the Spanish language because from the present tense, we get the present subjunctive, verb number 8, which is based on the yo form of the present tense. We also get our formal commands from the present tense. So the present tense is the verb tense that is spoken most in any language. We talk in the present tense. We talk about now, what's going on. But for Spanish, it is critical to know the present tense and all of its quirks, right? So that when you get to the present subjunctive in the commands, you can do those correctly as well. Now, we have introduced the es, and is, the vosotros endings. For those of you going to Spain to travel, to live, or do business, or be with family, you want to learn vosotros, or you need to learn vosotros, we'll put the endings here for you. And standard Latin American Spanish, in my entire career as a court interpreter, college professor, high school teacher, I've never once had to use the vosotros or had the vosotros spoken to me. Maybe a couple of times with an exchange student from Spain, but it all worked out really, really well. So if you're not going to Spain and you're not dealing with Spain and business and so on, you really don't need to know the vosotros, but it's good to be aware of it and understand it when it's spoken to you or when you see it written, right? And to be quite frank, it's not that hard to learn. So we're pointing out the vosotros endings for those of you that have that need or that desire. So there are the regular verb endings, AR, ER, and IR, with the vosotros in there. For example, the verb hablar. Hablo, hablas, habla, hablamos, habláis, hablan. The verb comer. Como, comes, come, comemos, coméis, comen. The verb vivir. Vivo, vives, vive, vivimos, vivís, and viven. Now there are stem changing verbs in Spanish. Traditionally, in classrooms and textbooks, they present E to IE, E to I, and O to UE. But I want to point out that the verb jugar is a stem changer. The U changes to UE. So we could well include jugar over here as a one verb. Let's take a look here. Stem changing verbs, when do they change? All but nosotros. And of course, if you're doing the vosotros form, they don't change in the vosotros form either. Prior to this lesson, our acronym was ABN, all but nosotros. But to be factual, if you're including vosotros, stem changes do not happen in the nosotros or the vosotros. That's why we put ABNV. Let's take a look at a stem changing verb, empezar. It goes, empiezo, empiezas, empieza, empiezan. The E changes to IE, but not in the nosotros or vosotros. So this would be empezamos, empezáis. Let's take a look at an E to I. Let's go with pedir right here. Pido, pides, pide, piden. But the we form is pedimos, and pedís would be the vosotros form in the present tense. They don't change in the nosotros or the vosotros. O to UE. Let's take the verb dormir. Dormir. Duermo, duermes, duerme, duermen. Dormimos, dormís. So remember, your stem changing verbs change in all but nosotros for standard Latin American Spanish. But if you're including vosotros in your study, you would say that stem changing verbs change in all forms but nosotros and vosotros. The accented U. Very few verbs in Spanish have an accented U. Probably two of the more common or two of the most common would be graduarse, to graduate, and continuar, to continue. Let's do graduarse. Me graduo, accent on the U. Te graduas, accent on the U. Se gradua, accent on the U. Se gradúan, accent on the U. But the we form, nos graduamos, no accent, and os graduáis, no accent either. We have the accented I. That's going to happen in all forms, including nosotros and vosotros, all forms. Let's take the verb reírse, to laugh. Here are your IR endings. Me río, accent. Te ríes, accent. Se ríe, accent. Nos reímos, accent. Os reís, that's OS. Os reís, accent. And se ríen, accent on the I. Okay, we come down now to our go verbs and our ZC verbs. There's a lot of go verbs, like tango, pongo, salgo, traigo, me caigo, vengo. That go only shows up in the yo form, only in the yo form. ZC verbs, conozco, produzco, conduzco, traduzco, merezco. Conozco and conduzco, probably the two most common. The verb conducir. Conduzco with a ZC, the rest of it, no ZC. Conduces, conduce, conducimos, conducís, conducen. That's how it works. And then we come down here to G to J. Very few verbs. Recoger, coger, corregir. Let's take corregir, an IR verb. It means to correct. Corregir, the infinitive, is spelled with a G. It's a soft G. If I left a G here in front of the O, it'd be corrigo, corrigo. The hard G sound. We need to maintain the integrity of the verb and get the soft G sound. So we change the G to a J. Corrijo. And then we go to a G the rest of the way. Corriges, corrige, corregimos, corregís, and corrigen. So the G to J happens only in the yo form. Spanish teachers and classes and textbooks at whatever level, when they teach irregulars, they mainly present estoy, soy, doy, voy, and say, because they don't end in O in the present tense yo form. But I also want to point out that haber, when used with a past participle, verb number 2, the yo form is a, right here, he. For example, I haven't finished, no he terminado. I haven't read the book. El libro no lo he leído. I haven't read it. So beware that haber, yo form, with the past participle is a, right? Does not end in O. And then the verb caber, kind of a quirky verb. Caber means to fit. And the yo form is capo, capo. So here it is, caber. It would conjugate like this. Capo, cabes, cabe, cabemos, cabes, caben. Everything is just like the infinitive caber, except for the O here. It's capo, capo. Okay? So, with the verb caber, it means to fit, not clothing, but like I'm trying to fit in an elevator with a stroller with my little granddaughter, and I would say, yo espero, no quepo, I don't fit. No cabemos, we don't fit. No cabemos, I don't fit. No quepo. That's the verb caber. And let's go down here to the verb jugar. We talked about it being a stem-changing verb. The U changes to UE in all forms, but nosotros and vosotros. So jugar goes juego, juegas, juega, and juegan with the UE. But over here, it's like the infinitive, jugamos and jugáis. All right, so let's practice a few of these verbs. Empezar. Empiezo, empiezas, empieza, empiezan, empezamos, empezáis. Let's go with querer. Quiero, quieres, quiere, quieren, queremos, queréis. Let's go with pedir. Pido, pides, pide, piden, pedimos, pedís. Let's go with seguir, same thing. Sigo, sigue, sigue, siguen, seguimos, and seguís with a GU. Dormir, O-D-U-E, dormir. Here we go. Duermo, duermes, duermen. Duermo, duermes, duerme, duermen. Dormimos, dormís. Next verb, llover. We only use it in the it form. Llover, ER verb right here. Llueve, it stem changes. Llueve, it rains. Graduarse, we just did. Me graduo, te gradúas, se gradúan with an accented U, and then no accent. Nos graduamos and os graduáis. Let's go with reírse. Accented I all the way through. Me río, te ríes, se ríe, nos reímos, os reís, and se ríen. They all have an accented I. Corregir, G to J. Corregir, Corrijo with a J, the rest is with a G. Corriges, corrige, corregimos, corregís, and corrigen. And then hacer is a go verb. Hacer, hago with a G. Haces, hace, hacemos, haces, hacen. And conocer, ZC verb, only in the yo form. Conocer, conozco, conoces, conoce, conocemos, conoces, conocen. This is with a ZC. So this is the whole shooting match, ladies and gentlemen, for the present tense. It's a lot, but we've been working with it and building upon it. And this is a great review for all of us to re-familiarize ourselves with all the quirkiness of the present tense, because it's going to keep showing up in the present subjunctive and it's going to show up in command. So you must master the present tense. Okay, so let's look again. We've got our regular verbs. We introduce ice, ace, and is for you people that want to learn vosotros. We know stem changing verbs change in all but nosotros and vosotros. We know that the accented U happens in all but nosotros and vosotros. We know that the accented I happens in all forms, the accent mark. The go and ZC verbs like tengo, vengo, traigo, merezco, conduzco, produzco happens only in the yo form. G to J happens in the yo form. So guess what? Corrijo. If I want to tell an usted person to correct a paper, I'd say corrija. Corrija. I'd go opposite vowel, but it's got a J. That's why you got to learn all of this. All these little mini clusters here need to be learned. And our irregulars, certainly, estoy, soy, doy, voy, say. And then remember, haber goes to A with an ado, ido. And caber, the yo form, is quepo. Okay, that's a lot in a little time, but we're not introducing these topics other than the ice, ace, and ease. Everything else is a review. And we're never going to get away from the present tense because it is the biggest foundational piece there is for the Spanish language. And remember, no verb, no communication. You're just pointing and saying words. It's like a car without an engine. It's going to end up in the junkyard, right? So you've got to learn your verbs and learn them well. Okay, es todo por ahora. I suggest you go to profesorpablo.com and look at my ebook. You see all sorts of examples of all the different sections. The verb section has like 2,000 verbs listed in English alphabetically. The second column are the same verbs in Spanish. And then there is a third column, and it tells you if it's a go verb or a ZC verb, if it's a stem changing verb, a G to J. It tells all that to you. And you can just scroll on your phone, tablet, or computer and say, oh, and you can look at that third column and you'll start getting very familiar with all those different types of quirky verbs. Okay, es todo por ahora. Gracias. Please like if you like the lesson. Subscribe if you like our lessons. Hopefully, I think you probably do because we're getting close to 290. I don't think you'd be watching the lessons if you don't like them, but if that's the case, please subscribe. I greatly appreciate that. Okay, you guys have a great day. Love you guys. Appreciate all the time you put into the lessons. I absolutely love your comments. I'm very busy, as you know. I get to them as I am able, and the same thing with the lessons. So thank you so much. Cuídense mucho. Bye.